Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video, I think I'm going to get pretty tea lifted with this brand new Gushu raw pu'er. This is the Straight-Faced Playmate. And I say new, however, this is actually not a new tea. First of all, it's from 2011, so it's an aged tea. But secondly, we've actually had this at Mayleaf for about 2 years. We purchased this in 2019, and I absolutely loved it then, but I really wanted to just extend the aging on it by a couple more years. So this has been sitting patiently in our storage for 2 years. The time is now right to release this. This is the Straight-Faced Playmate 2011 Huaju Liang, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. Raw Gushu pu'er, around 200-year-old tea trees estimated. And I have, of course, been sipping on this tea. This has been my tipple of choice whenever I feel like I want to get a little bit tea buzzed. And yeah, I've sipped on probably about 2 cakes in the last 2 years, and I've been tasting it and seeing how it's been aging, and it is at a very, very sweet spot right now. So here we go. Let's open this up and we'll quickly scope this tea. Here you go. Check out this, the Straight-Faced Playmate. I should really have shown you the cover a little bit more, courtesy of Celine. We're going to talk about this capybara and why we picked this design, or why we came up with this design as we get into the tea. But you can see the tea here, beautifully aged. You can see it's got a lovely dark color to it, sort of plummy, but also a little bit tan, a little bit damson color. Really, really nice aging look to it. Let's get in here. So this has been aging in our storage approximately 55 to 60, depending on the day. Relative humidity, percent relative humidity, which is a nice sort of steady aging. It's not amped up. We could have gone up to sort of 65, 70 if we had that control. But I've been looking at the humidity and it's been all around 55 to 60, which I think is really good. Temperature around 20 to 20 sort of 2 degrees upwards to sort of 25 degrees in the summer. So, you know, not accelerated aging, but good aging parameters, and I have noticed the shift. And it was really interesting because when I first purchased this tea, I really, really loved it. I thought it had so much depth, almost like a wild taste to it, a sort of complex wild taste to it. And I felt like it was just coming out of that sort of awkward adolescent phase in its aging. And just this extra couple of years has just brought it into that lovely middle-aged taste, which I think you are going to love. So I'm going to wrap this up quickly. And you can see these leaves, as I said, nice age to them. Scope on this tea. This is season spring 2011. The cultivar is the Da-Ye Zhong variety. The origin is Huaju Liang, which is a very, very high altitude area. In fact, it's the highest elevation area of the Sichuan-Bana mountainous region. So very, very high up, which I think contributes to that really fascinating and wild taste. The processing on this is going to be a classic raw pu'er, so it's going to be picked, buds and up to 3 to 4 leaves. It's going to be withered, it's going to be pan-fried, it's going to be rested, it's going to be rolled, it's going to be sun-dried, and then it has been kept in storage till 2019 and then pressed for us in 2019 into these 200-gram cakes. The elevation, as I said, very high up, 1,600 to 2,100 meters high up. So the highest elevation area of Sichuan-Bana being one of the most famed and sought after areas for raw pu'er tea. Right, I've got my Junda pot here. Normally, if I was doing this as a first time tasting, I'd be tasting in porcelain. I have tasted this tea quite a few times. I know this tea very, very well. So I'm going to now amp it up, do it in the Junda pot, one of my favorite pots, and get some very, very strong brews out of it. I do plan today to really feel the cha-chi of this tea. Right, so here we go. As I say, we've been sitting on this since 2019. The crew at Mayleaf have been asking me regularly, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? Because obviously they've had a chance to taste it, and finally it is here. So we're going to take some time to warm this up. I'm going to brew dry today. So I'm going to leave the gongfu vessel on the side. This is just going to be my wastewater bowl, and then I'm going to brew dry here. So I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. It's probably not a good combination to brew dry and plan to get a bit tea lifted, but let's see what chaos ensues. Okay, so let's give the tea pet this hot water. And then in goes these leaves. I don't have my gongfu tools here, so this is not going to be, you know what? Turn that down. I'm just going to use my hand as a scoop and just get these leaves in. Right. Try and load up a nice amount here. The great thing about the Junda pot is it really allows you to get very sort of overclocked brews. That's probably enough. Okay. Right, let's give this a sniff. Huaju Liangzi 2011, 200-year-old estimated Gushu PuErh, raw PuErh. We call it the Straight-Faced Playmate. The aroma is so complex. It, as I said before, has an almost wild smell to it. I can smell wild forests. But as I sort of try to decipher and disseminate, I'm getting a lot of orange notes, like baked oranges. I'm getting a lot of some floral notes, a little bit of magnolia, wisteria. But baked orange or aged tangerine peel, so Sheng PuErh, if you've had aged tangerine peel, then you'll know it's zesty, but it's deep and it's sweet. It's got a honeyed note to it as well. I'm also getting that bright, bracing, light eucalyptus note to it. So maybe you could say sort of eucalyptus honey. And then there's this foresty depth, but it's sweeter. So again, honeyed rolling tobacco would be, but a very deep, sweet, dark rolling tobacco, freshly opened. You know, those freshly opened packs of deep, sweet rolling tobacco. So a eucalyptus honey, rolling tobacco, aged tangerine peel, and a little bit of a floral, I want to say magnolia or frangipani. Okay, let's give these a rinse. And then I am going to crank up the temperature so that we get near boiling point. Okay, so let's have a sniff of these wet leaves. So that deep baked note is very much coming out. I'm getting a lot of that deep baked note. I'm getting a lot of that wild forest and jungle sort of smell to it. So it's sort of undergrowth and, you know, all of that. But I'm also getting a creaminess coming through as well, like a vanilla ice cream. So vanilla ice cream, plums as well. So now I'm getting a lot of fruits. So I'm getting damson, I'm getting plums, dried fruits, dried raisins, prunes. So if I sort of try to sort of create some imagery, it would be a little bit of vanilla ice cream mixed with like a Christmas cake, you know, sort of dried fruit cake with little bits of still some of that baked orange, so sort of tangerine peel or orange peel in there. So sitting with a bowl of that in a humid jungle forest. There's also some sort of the eucalyptus has transformed a little bit and has moved more into sandalwoods. So sort of sandalwood, not really so much incense, but more like I don't know if as a kid we had like sandalwood fans that we used to have, like, you know, just sort of ornamental, but they had that smell to it. So sandalwood, vanilla ice cream, and those dried fruits, the dried fruit cake with orange peel, dried plums, dried raisins, and then that humid, hot jungle, foresty smell. It is just, and honey, I'm still getting honey in there. Yeah, sweet, spiced honey, dark honey, really, really such a lovely smell. And if you want to know the sort of transformation that's happened in the last couple of years, I was getting all of those smells, but they were a little bit lighter. And the overall taste was, it felt like it was coming out of a sort of dehydrated state into a more humid state, if that makes any sense. And we'll get onto that a little bit more when I taste it. But it just felt like, and this is the thing about that awkward adolescent phase of a raw pu'er, and it doesn't happen to all raw pu'ers, and sometimes raw pu'ers are delicious at year 7 and year 8, so I'm not suggesting that it's a fixed rule, but there tends to be a sort of muting or dialing down of the flavors, or as the flavors transform from fresh to aged, there's a sort of in-between period where it's neither particularly fresh and the aged notes just need a little bit more time to come out, and that's when we snapped it up and we put it in storage to make sure that it aged to our specifications, and it has really just really met my expectations, if not exceeded them. Okay, to be a little bit more careful here. Right, let's let that brew for about 30 to 40 seconds, but you know me, I often talk too much and end up forgetting how long it's been. How are you all doing? I'm excited for this session. I have not actually had this Straight-Faced Playmate in the Junda pot. I've had it many times in porcelain, just to sort of taste it as I've gone, as the years have sort of rolled by, tasting it every sort of 3 months or so to see how it's changing. As I said, the Mayleaf crew have been asking for about the last year, when's it coming out? Because they love it. So now is the moment. Check out the color. A lovely, how would you describe that? Sort of, it's an orange. It's slightly oxidized orange looking, maybe a little bit like sort of an ale orange or a cider orange. And it's got a lot of activity in there. You see that I did not filter it. So it's got a lot of activity going on. Slightly cloudy. Lovely looking liquor. Here we go. Straight-Faced Playmate 2011 Huaju Liangzi super high altitude raw Gushu PuErh. Texture. Now I want to stress this point. This is not an ultra thick tea. This is sort of, I would put it in the medium territory, but when you find out about the taste, which I'm already getting from one sip, you'll see that that marries very, very well. So this is, I would say, medium to medium thick. As you'd expect, it is just opening up, but from the get-go, this has the most incredible cooling sensation in the mouth, and that's why the medium, I think, works with it. Medium texture works with it. It's so cooling, sweet and fresh in the mouth. I know I'm jumping to finish, but that just should be a testament to how incredible the finish is on this, because from 2 sips, even from 1 sip, I'm immediately getting this amazing, zingy, tingly, cooling, fresh, sweet, honeyed, sort of this back and forth between minty cool and honeyed, and that is what I absolutely adore about this tea. But let's go, let's move 1 step backwards and go to taste. which is just opening up, but I'm getting those baked oranges for sure. A little bit of extra depth to it though, a little bit of freshness to it. So I would say it's sort of baked oranges and maybe fresh blood oranges. A little bit of persimmon sweetness. Honey is there. A little bit more like a honey mead, you know, so liquid honey. So a little bit lighter. Yeah, honeys and caramels, baked oranges. Those magnolias are still there. Magnolia, wisteria, so a little sort of light flourish of floral sweetness amongst all of this fruity, baked, dried fruit sweetness and honeyed sweetness. Minerality is there as well. And I'm going to brew another one immediately. But what I know about this tea and what I'm already sensing is if there's any tea which is going to show you what Hui Gan is, I would say this is a really good candidate. Hui Gan meaning returning sweetness. Because the transformation on this tea as you drink it goes from in the mouth, fruity, sweet, a little bit zesty, and then it hits you with this, like the perfect bitterness. It's there, but it's not aggressive at all. You would have no problem it staying there on your mouth, but it doesn't. It transforms to that cooling, minty, sweet finish. It's such a complex, deep, rich adult tea on the one hand, and yet incredibly quaffable, really drinkable. You just want to go back and hit it again and again and again. And that's why you've got to be a little bit careful with this tea. I should count infusions. So this is infusion number 2. You can see the liquor has clarified now as the sort of trichomes of the buds sort of mostly came out in the first infusion. Leaves are opening up nicely, turning into a sort of olive green and tan color. Right, infusion number 2 looks a bit thicker, as you'd expect. Color's a bit darker. So medium thick now. But this will never go to a sort of Iwu style thickness. But as I said, I think that really works with that orangey note to it and that cooling finish. Okay. As I said, I could just down this tea. I mean, you know, you can see I can drink this tea really quickly. It's just so Moorish with that finish. And you will get a lot of infusions out of this. In fact, this is the kind of tea that you can just keep rolling with and it just becomes beautiful sweet water after multiple infusions. Yeah, this hit of bitterness is so... It's like the bitterness that comes from... like an orange liquor or something. I don't know if that exists, but some sort of bittersweet liquor. So it's really not like a pharmaceutical bitterness in any way at all. It's very much a sweet, sort of sweet to bitter to sweet. But the first sweet is orangey and, you know, persimmon and a little bit of the caramels and the honeys. Then you get this like mineral bitterness, and then it moves very quickly to this minty fresh sweetness. Still honeyed, but minty fresh. Very cooling all the way down, so far down my throat. I mean, I often talk about how tea makes you feel comfortable in terms of its cooling sensation, but I'm literally talking about the cooling sensation is sitting even all the way down here from this, my whole throat down to my stomach is just so cooling. I don't know what it is about this Huaju Liang's terroir or this Gushu tea trees, but this high mountain vaporous quality to it just is immense. It's just such a cooling sensation. All right, I'm going to smell the empty gong da bei before I move on and just go through a load of infusions without you. A touch of spice comes through as well. A little bit of cinnamon is happening. Right, let's give this a smell. So you hit with a load of sweetness. Honeycomb. Baked oranges again. Baked oranges, honeycomb. There's a sort of saline quality to it as well, a little bit salty. Salted honeycombs. Baked oranges, frangipani flowers. Again, this lovely palette, a little bit creamy, a little bit floral sweet, lots and lots of honeyed caramel notes, a little bit, in fact, a fair amount of orange still, but sort of deep baked oranges, and a little bit of salt as well. Okay, I'm going to roll through quite a few infusions. The next time you see me, I should be pretty flushed. Well, it's raining outside, but I feel like I am in a sauna. This tea is incredibly heating and cooling at the same time. It's like you've been in a sauna and then you step out. You know that refreshing feeling that you get after being in that heat for quite some time. So I feel my whole body is radiating heat, but then just feeling very cool as you start to perspire a little bit. It's this beautiful juxtaposition between warm, glowing feeling and that little bit of coolness on the outside, and still this intense coolness as I breathe in and out. So really lovely. Really reminds me of being on a holiday in a very hot country. You can see this is infusion number 7. The leaves will just keep going. Many infusions. I think I wrote on the packaging 15 infusions. At least you can do 15 infusions out of this. The taste has remained relatively constant. I'm getting a little bit more minerality, a little bit more rockiness. I'm also getting more floral notes coming through, a little bit more of those wisteria, almost like a little bit like soapy sort of Marseille soap sort of quality to it. So floral yet fresh. And also I'm picking up a little bit of caramelized apples as well. So still the same theme, fresh, creamy, sweet, floral, sweet, honeyed, and a lot of that depth, that sort of jungly, humid forest and baked oranges. Oh, such an amazing tea. What a great feeling. So in terms of the body sensation, feeling like you're in a hot country. So hence why we designed this capybara to be in a desert. So our sort of imagination, we always try to tell a little story, at least in our heads, when we come up with the designs for these cakes. And the story here is that we're going away on holiday, a very hot country, and it's clearly a desert country with this sort of burnt orange, because we really tasted that baked orange note when we were tasting the loose tea. So this sort of hot, scorched desert country, maybe staying like in a Bedouin tent camp, and we meet this character here. So this is a stranger to us. At first glance, a little bit serious, a bit straight-faced, but as you get to know him and as you spend your days in the desert, you find out that he's actually a very playful character, likes to play cards, likes to play games endlessly while you're sitting in the desert, hopefully drinking this tea. This is the tea that we imagined accompanying this card game that would perfectly suit it, that gives you that feeling of that hot, summer holiday feel with the light perspiration, the light cooling nature, and is serious and adult on one aspect, but also very playful and easy drinking on the other. That's the reason why we came up with this design for this tea. And the feeling, apart from the physical sensation, is very much one of happiness, a little bit cheeky, so a little bit playful, a little bit cheeky, very, very happy, very, very chilled. But don't let this tea fool you, because when you first start drinking this tea, you get this sort of rush of heat. And the more savvy pu'er drinkers out there will go, ooh, this could be a bit of a rushy tea. But then you realize, no, it's not actually giving me this massive energy rush. And you think, oh, it's an easy drinking tea, I'm just gonna keep drinking. But it's a creeper. This tea is a creeper. I have discovered that to my peril, sometimes late night when I've sort of thought, oh, I'm just gonna have some of this Straight-Faced Playmate at sort of midnight or something. That is not a good idea unless you're planning to stay up late into the night. This is one of those teas that doesn't give you this instant rushy feeling, but it does definitely give you energy. It will keep you lifted throughout for many, many hours after you drink, and you can keep infusing this tea. As I said, lots and lots and lots of infusions will come out of these leaves, and you know, a remarkable consistency of flavor and sweetness. So there you go, Straight-Faced Playmate. Finally, it's being released. Now is the right time. 10 years aged, a couple of years in our London storage, and I absolutely adore it. Tea of the year. I don't know if we can call it tea of the year since we ordered it in 2019, but yes, I guess it is a candidate because it's going to be released in 2021. It certainly is up there with some of my favorite teas this year. So I highly recommend, if you are interested in raw pu'er, in aged raw pu'er, and you want to get a real sense of this cooling huigan sweetness and the complexity that can come from good aging, this is a tea for you. And obviously it will continue to age beautifully. I would say, if you are if you've seen my video regarding breaking up cakes, this is a perfect candidate if you wanted to break up a little bit and save it, or break up the whole cake and save it, and then it's a perfect candidate for the breaking up process. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link in the description below. A delicious, delicious tea, Straight-Faced Playmate. I hope that you enjoy it if you pick it up. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the immaculate stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.